Hey guys, welcome to the Etched Companion. My name is Ben, and this is Nick.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about some magic. This is our inaugural episode of our podcast that we're doing here, where we're just going to talk about different things in magic, go over some educational stuff to learn, some things about just like how to play with play groups, some things on how to play decks, deck building in general, the stack, some other fun stuff like that. So,
And some
yeah.
salty moments. Don't forget about the salty moments because, oh my
Oh,
God. Dude, yesterday I had a game.
okay.
So we've been trying to play Magic a little bit more frequently, about weekly or so. Unfortunately, Ben, you were not able to make it, but
I was not there.
we played a game. It was me and two other of our buddies. We played a 3-man game. And this guy, he's playing a precon. He's playing a Rakdos precon. It's the one that from Duskmorn. The new one that came out. It's like the group slug where you just essentially get pinged for everything that you do. And he turned one Soul Ring. And that I'll tell you right now.
How do you feel about
how I
turn
feel
one Soul
about
Ring?
How do you think I feel about turn one Soul Ring, Ben? I don't like turn one. I don't like it. I don't like turn one Soul Ring.
It's like that card should be like banned or something.
Dude, I hate Soul Ring. We'll get into that a little bit more in detail later. But he essentially turned one Soul Ring. I was playing Jury, by the way. I should probably mention that. I played Jury. He was playing, it was like Valgavoth, I think his name is, Reckoner of Souls. And he turned one Soul Ring. Turn two, essentially got his commander out because he had 4 mana to be able to play it. I was getting a little bit droughted for mana a bit that game. I was able to get Jury out turn 2, but he actually ended up killing it because he had a Mayhem Double as well. So like every time I would like sacrifice something, he would be able to ping stuff. So I wasn't able to keep Jury to stick on the board. And he, on turn 5, killed me, essentially, because he was able to get Valgavoth. It was he's 4 when he comes out. As it goes around and he pings somebody for damage, he puts a 1/1 counter on Valgavoth. It became a 5/5. He swung with it. The next turn he got 2 more counters on it, so it became a 7/7. Swung with me at it, and then it became a 9/9 on his next turn, and I was taken out via commander damage. I couldn't do anything about it. It was like by turn 2 he was putting out cards. Like turn 3 he put out a 5-cost card, and I'm still putting out 2-3 cost creatures, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun.
And so, how did that make you feel?
How did that make me feel? Oh, dude, I was so salty. I wanted to rip up that card so bad.
Yeah.
That Soul Ring, man.
Turn one Soul Ring.
I hate turn one Soul Ring. Oh, man.
Well, that's why we're here today. Not to talk about turn one Soul Ring, even though that is a thing that happens, a common occurrence of this type of behavior. But we're here to talk about being salty in Commander. And is it okay to be salty or all that? So we're going to find out through this podcast. That was a fantastic example of just things that happen in game that can just make it, because you're playing a casual pod. You're just there to have fun on a Sunday.
Right.
You're getting ready for Monday. You're not looking forward to it. You're just sitting there, and all of a sudden the game's just over before it began because somebody just happened to draw turn one Soul Ring.
Yeah, and the crazy part was too is that's a precon, man, and he was the only precon at the table, and like my Jury deck's pretty tuned. Like I've worked on it pretty heavily. It works. It was pretty consistent. It wasn't even like my deck was like doing anything wrong. I didn't have anything like crazy like bursty opening. I didn't have any like turn 4 like win the game with Asheron's Ult or animation module or anything. But like it was doing the Jury thing. It put Jury out. I was gonna get some counters next few turns, but I guess I'll go into a little bit enough of that salty game experience, but I'll go a little bit more into like why we want to talk about this topic, because like there are times when salty players can definitely ruin games. But I also want to talk about the times when maybe it's a little bit okay to be a little salty sometimes. Just because, like salt can, what is it? It can show up in a bunch of different ways. It just depends on, the context or like, how it happens. Certain game mechanics could just be players having a rough day. Maybe they just had a really bad day at work or something. Who knows? And they're coming to play Commander and then they get stacks to death. And
yeah,
no one likes that. So
it's one of those things. It's like one of the inevitabilities of like Commander. Like it's not going to happen in every single game, but it's going to happen eventually. It could be like, it's just with different things can cause it, like Dick was explaining in games. There's just things inherently in Magic that can cause it, and there's other things going on. People put a lot of passion into this game, so it's very easy to get a little angry when stuff doesn't go your way and get a little salty at other people's decisions. Right? It's
Yeah,
also, I
exactly.
mean, the game itself is just a huge like. I mean, it's a calculator, right? Like there's so many like things happening at once and everything's going on there. So you in your mind may think somebody is like, this is the optimal play. This is clearly the obvious play.
Right.
So this person should do this. Then the person goes ahead and does something completely different. That could make you mad if you have it in your head that that's the only right play is this, and somebody goes and does something else too.
Right.
That's
And
just
like,
it's gonna happen.
they don't see your hand, they don't see what you're trying to do. And sometimes,
Yeah.
they might make an unoptimal play that really screws you over and they don't even realize it. But
Yeah.
and that's part of the luck factor of the game, or like maybe some people would call like a little unfair, but I mean it's just kind of the part of the game. But I also want to frame the fact that like the goal of this conversation too is just like we're not trying to excuse any sort of like negative behavior. We're not trying to say like it's okay to like be toxic and be like a negative person to your friends, because that's definitely not what we want. You want to be able to express your feelings in like a productive or like maybe in just a healthy way.
Yeah.
And we just want to understand both sides of the problem.
Yeah.
So if you want to like maybe dive into like kind of what is like saltiness, I guess, what is like salty behavior in this context, I guess, like, and maybe like some reasons as to why like people would get salty.
Sure. So saltiness is something that, I mean, like a lot of people see when playing Commander. It can be anything ranging from just getting like a little salty, having some player like you see it in multiple forms. It's from people getting really frustrated with something, getting mad. They could be verbally saying something. They could just look really frustrated. Some people shut down too when they get salty and just like don't react anymore. Other people will immediately just like scoop. Scoop is a very common reaction when people get salty. They'll just,
I've
all
definitely
right,
done
I'm
that
not
a few
playing
times.
anymore. Yeah, yeah. It's what happens, and sometimes it's a good solution for it. If you're frustrated, you're kind of being too salty about something. Sometimes just leaving is the right thing to do at that time too.
Yeah.
But either way, with being salty is just there's many reasons why people can get salty too, and that's like emotional investment into their games. There's swing of games, and Magic in general is just a game. And another thing that's with Commander specifically is
you're telling me that I spent how much mana? 7 mana to play this big boss creature, and you're not going to let me play it? You're going to counter it?
you didn't realize I'm a blue player with no mana untapped, but I have 2 cards in hand that I just happen to be able to force a will it? What do you mean? why are you mad about that? Come on.
Oh man,
You prepared everything. You looked at the board. I used 3 counter spells on the last player's turn. You prepared everything correctly.
There's
but
no way you had a 4th counter spell, dude. There's no way.
What I did. Yeah.
It was up your sleeve. You cheated. Cheater.
And that's the swingy thing with Commander too, right? Like those games, like you were about to make this big play, and now you can't do literally anything. So you spent all your mana on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I hate that.
That's so frustrating.
So frustrating. But we learned from those moments, So
yeah. Well, that's what you learn after being. Yeah, that's how you.
Sometimes some people don't, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Another example of stuff is just like the long drawn out games. These Commander games, especially when you add more than 4 people, like 4 people games can get long enough. Some people try to play with 5 and never play with 6, but some people try to play with 6. And those games just go forever. And
dude,
we've played, I mean, when we play Commander, some days we're playing for like over 8 hours, like of just straight Commander games. And when you're in that last game and you expected it, like every other game went like, an hour long or something like that. You get to that last game and you're on hour 4. You just want to go home. Like, you don't want people just want to leave. Yeah. You just want to leave. You don't want to deal with that. So then when somebody goes to win the game and somebody else counters it, even though they're nowhere near close to winning the game on their side, it just extends that game a little more. Oof. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some people would say like, oh yeah, it's the optimal play to stop the player from winning because everybody wants to win, but like, at what cost?
Yeah, it can still make people mad.
Yeah. I also want to talk about the context of as well. The context of why like people can get salty, because context matters, and like everybody has their own reasons for playing too. So like, for example, we're personally in our context, we're talking about mostly casual kitchen table Magic or Commander. in this case, because we don't really play CEDH or really go to tournaments as much. But if you're going to like a 500-man tournament and there's like the huge prize pool or something like that, you know, you can almost excuse a little bit of saltiness as long as it's not like negative like actions that like might harm other people. Like we don't want to, we don't condone any of that stuff. Or insulting people to their face or personal attacks. Like you don't want to be that guy. But like if you're at a huge tournament and someone does a play that just completely screws you over, even if you aren't the main threat or something, or you just have really bad draws or something, it's just something out of your control. Like, I could see somebody getting a little salty. You've spent a lot of money or to maybe fly out to this event. You maybe had, you've invested a lot of time play testing this deck and you've done really well with it in like locals or testing and like some other thing aspect. And then you just go and lose round one because you just drew like crap, who knows? That would feel really bad. And it's almost like in that sense, I would be like, okay, it's reasonable that they're salty at this point.
Yeah. Think of it. You spent your turn. You're playing some like niche CEDH deck that you spent hours like theory crafting and days just working on and trying to perfect it and get it well. You didn't get a good draw. You end up mulliganing down to like only 5 cards in hand, but you're like, all right, this I can work with. You can do. And then somebody playing the newest, latest, and greatest, strongest power creep card just wins on turn 1, and it didn't matter what was in your hand in the first place. Yeah, that could be salty. Or everybody else in your play group, nobody had a counterspell to stop this person from winning. And, you should have, like, everybody else was playing the blue decks. Why did they have stuff to stop them? It's not your job to. Yeah. There's a difference between saltiness in competitive versus non-competitive for sure. And I think it's definitely, I think in general consensus is it's a little bit more okay in a competitive format because that's less known as saltiness, more known as competitiveness. But there's we're here to talk mostly about like the casual side of being salty, but just a lot of the points will hit both sides of it in general.
Yeah, because there is some like mix in between as well, like especially if you're playing with a play group like consistently of the same people or like a same rotation of people. It depends on everybody's mindset in the play group as well, but like I think it's also very important to address like things that people might be salty about in that play group, even if it is just casual Magic.
Playgroup politics are huge in Commander because, especially in casual Commander, everybody is there to have a good time. How people have a good time is different. Every person has their own opinions on what they want to do. And the best way to learn that is to play with the group and be understanding, especially at first. Like when you're with a new play group, that's probably the time where it's most easy to get salty about things because you don't know why people are doing things that they're doing. And when you don't understand why something's happening, that's extremely frustrating sometimes. If they do something that you don't think is right or you don't like and you don't know why they're doing it, that's that's where salt comes from. Those are the mines where you find the salt.
Where there's like no communication involved. You just sit down and you're like, your expectations are different from probably what they do.
Yep.
And then they do a lot of like unfun things, like which should just be like, it's pretty subjective, right? So everybody kind of finds fun in different ways in Magic. And they do something that you find unfun, but you guys never talked about it. And it's just like catches you out of the blue and you're like, oh, I never want to play with that person again.
Yeah. And that's something to bring up with like a little bit more into the definition of saltiness, like what it is. And the base level is it's just like emotion, right? It's people showing their emotions, which isn't inherently bad. Like it's a good thing to have that because if they were just, if they were mad about something but didn't say anything, well, they're probably going to either like explode one day on somebody, like they're just not going to get mad, it's going to bubble up, they're not going to talk anymore. Like there's so many things that could happen. So expressing that saltiness is not inherently bad. But
that's true.
We're all human. We're all playing the game and trying to have fun. Like emotions are a human thing. We're playing this game with other humans. It's just that stuff is going to happen. So when you're expressing that and going through like being salty, it's on everybody that's involved to really understand what's happening there, right? So like you can be salty, but you have to understand that you're being salty about it, right? Like you're probably being the ridiculous one, and you have to be able to take a step back. Right?
Getting frustrated and feeling the problems with it, when other people might just be having a great time. They have no idea what's happening.
Yep.
Another reason why players will get salty is that like sometimes like the chaotic nature of like 4-player Magic is just inherently just there. It's just it exists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that don't exist in the 1v1 that do exist in Commander format, because like politics is a huge thing, right? The games like tempo, for example, that you can experience in 1v1, where if you go first and you're playing the aggro, or you're able to play a land drop every turn, and you're also able to play a card in your hand every turn or something, you could have like just higher tempo than the other person. You could be ahead in life total, so you can abuse that fact. And it doesn't matter if they're getting card advantage over you. Sometimes if you can pressure their life total and get them close to lethal, that can actually just swing based on just tempo alone, because you got to attack first. But that doesn't really exist in Commander as much as like politics, or even just like shying away, hiding your strategy at first, because there's a little bit different nuances to Commander, since dealing with 3 other players' interaction is way harder, almost like impossible, essentially, as one player to deal with, like compared to a 1v1 where you only have to deal with like 1, 2, maybe 3 counter spells. It's like in a 4-player game, you have to probably deal with like at least like 5 or 6 pieces of interaction, probably. If you're depending on your play group, obviously, but.
Yeah, it's not impossible to out-tempo 3 other players, but it is a lot harder to out-tempo 3 other players than it is in a 1v1. Yeah. Yeah, that's those Commander itself is just such a sweet format, and it's so hard to in a 1v1 game too. A lot of like Nick, you've played more standard than I have, but like I've known of the standard format since I've been playing, and it's like the decks at the top 2 are normally very standardized. Like you have like a lot of the same cards you see over and over again, because you have a more limited selection that you can play with. So it's easier to understand what to expect too from
That's
that.
true, yeah.
Whereas in Commander, it's such
the
a
card
wide,
pool's a bit smaller, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, card pool is huge in Commander, so you really don't know what you're going to expect too from that, which can lead to being frustrated.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like it's hard to really, if you don't play at a CEDH level and know like a meta, or play in a meta, I guess, like it's really hard to know what to expect, like sitting down at a table with people. Yeah, because like a lot of times I'll see their Commander, I'm like, I have no idea what that is, and I kind of don't really care at the moment, because I'll worry about it when it happens, or when I see it happening, because like it's hard to like really understand what people are doing until you actually see the deck unfold. Yeah.
Speaking of how decks unfold, what about some strategies in Commander that cause people to be salty?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of those. I think I want to discuss maybe for example, like a card, for example, that I personally really hate, that we were talking about previously about Sol Ring specifically. Yeah, like there are definitely like decks or like cards, like their power levels can also induce a lot of salt. So like if your play group isn't really playing at the same power level, like someone's playing a precon and another person's playing a CDH deck, it's like there's obviously a very big mismatch in this, and that can induce a lot of salt, because the player playing the precon doesn't, maybe they're just playing casually and they just want to sit down and have fun with their friends, but the other guy is playing like this really powerful deck that can really be controlling and annoying to deal with, and it's just pub stomping the group. And then Sol Ring, I think, also adds to that, that chaotic, swingy nature of Commander, because a lot of people who play casual, they're like, I don't want to play with fast mana. I don't want to play with like stacks. I don't want to play with the combos, infinite combos and stuff. And then everyone's playing Sol Ring for some reason. It just doesn't, like, it's like, I think it should be like, personally, I believe it should be, you either run all of them or you run none of them. There's no reason to like pick and choose, because if you're just playing Sol Ring as your only fast mana, you just get a lot more swingy, inconsistent games, where like some games you open up with Sol Ring and your deck just explodes, and then other games, like the normal games that you don't get Sol Ring, your deck plays at its consistent level, where you say it's a precon, or where you say it's a power level 6 or whatever. But when you get the Sol Ring turn 1 and nobody else does, you're practically playing CDH.
Yeah, it can definitely make your deck feel very different than it normally does, which can be can make it bad for you, because if you're trying to tune a deck and do anything, you get those random outlier games where you get Sol Ring and you're like, this feels great, let's take this to a table.
It feels great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my personal feelings on Soul Ring. I think it breaks parity way too heavily. And we also have an example where that kind of happened in a game before. The one yesterday, and then we also had another game. There was a night where we were all playing Magic. We were all just having fun and drinking and stuff. And we did get a little bit tipsy at the end, last game of the night. And some salt was pretty induced in this game. Most notably from my Zur deck that I had. I had a Zur the Enchanter deck that I put together because I thought it'd be a fun way to introduce myself into Control, because it's a Voltron, but it's like soft stacks. I can make it, well, competitive Zur decks, not really, but like I tried to make it more of a like soft stacky thing where, I'll just use Pillow Fort stuff like Ghostly Prison Propaganda, Ristic Study, some things that people can get around, but they'll have to pay taxes for it.
And to clarify, it's Zur the Enchanter for this one too.
Yes, Zur the Enchanter. And it was the end of the night. We're all a little bit tipsy. I believe, I don't remember what deck you were playing, Ben, if you remember.
It might have been a Faramir deck that I was working on that was like not done yet.
Yeah, it was like your first iteration. It was like a rough draft.
Yeah.
And then you also had a buddy of ours play
another
Sauron
precon
deck.
Or not a precon.
Right?
Yeah, he was playing another one. It was the not Saruman, the Witch King. But
the Witch King.
The Witch King is very much like both of the decks that I was playing. Well, both of them were not tuned very well in the first place, and the other one, the Witch King one, is very much like a win more kind of deck. You just swing at people. It's meant to be an easy deck for people to pilot.
Yeah.
But when you have a Zur that's staxing and just getting ahead by running all these great enchantments, it's neither of those do very well and do it.
Made for a really feels bad moment. Yeah. And it also didn't really and I also drew, as we were talking about, Soul Ring. My opening hand was Soul Ring and Orzhov Signet with some other stuff. I don't remember, but essentially I was able to play Zur turn 2 and just completely outpace both.
Which is not even
I was able to
at that point,
and it was a 3-man game instead of a 4-man game, so it wasn't even like I had to deal with 3 people's interaction. It was only 2, and I could just counter whatever I wanted essentially. And so it was a very non-game. I ended up upsetting a couple of friends for that one. And honestly, after that, it inspired me to start taking Soul Rings out of my deck, because I figured it's just not necessary. Like, honestly, I've taken Soul Ring like out of all of my decks except for Marin. That's the only one, because I feel like that's my one single deck that I want to keep as my like strong deck. If I want to pull out and everyone wants to like pull up and say, hey, we're try hard and we're sweating for this game, I'm gonna pull that deck out. But yeah, and I haven't really noticed it. I haven't missed it. I actually really enjoy most of my decks now.
Yeah, which is just that's just a great example of a game where it's just like sometimes it storms off, and it's when you're playing it for different things, right? Like the 2 decks that were coming to the table from my side of things were just like, there to just test out, just have some fun, do that. And then the Zur deck was just like, I'm winning. You're not going to be able to do anything to stop me from winning. And it was just like, okay, well, we can't really have fun not doing anything. It's just like, all right, cool. We're just here, I guess. And it's just Zur deck's just popping off.
Yeah, that also feels bad. And like in my defense, we were like drinking, and I was pretty tipsy at this point. I wasn't reading the room. I had no idea what decks he was playing, in a sense. I just was like, my brain said, I want to play Zur because I haven't gotten to in a while. And I was like, I want to play Zur, and I pulled it out, and it was the worst time to pull it out. That was a terrible decision, but that's what Drunk Nick comes up with most of the time. Very terrible decisions.
But that was also a good example of something that we'll talk about more in depth later too, with the like resolution for it. Like, you thought about it afterwards and what was going on, and you're like, all right, here's a solution for it. Why did that game go so poorly? And you're like, one thing, it was just, it stormed off, and part of it was because Soul Ring just swung that game. So it was already a deck that was in better shape, like a higher power level than the other decks at the table, and then it also got Soul Ring turn 1, so it just like popped off. So you really, like, when you got out of that, you took 2 things from it, right? Which was, one, just like try to match power level, like do better to try and match power level at the table, and then 2, take Soul Ring out of the deck so they're not like so swingy and just like changing that. So
having these really swingy, annoying games,
yeah.
So that's like part of like salty strategy goes into that as well. Salty strategies like stacks, like people don't want to deal with Stasis, Winter Orbs,
Mhm.
Draenith Magistrate. They're very salty cards that can, and understandably so. I get why people don't want to play with these cards in casual Commander. So like this is like where the salt comes from the game. Like the game itself can be very salty, and at times pillow forts can also be annoying because people don't like paying taxes a lot.
Yeah, I like to
Board wipes.
define stacks as just things that don't allow you to play the game of Magic. What people
Yeah.
like to do when they come to the table is play the game of Magic.
Play the
So
game of Magic,
not
yeah.
being allowed to do that does make for some people to get pretty salty. It's like we don't really have many stacks things at our tables. At an old play group that I had, I used to have a Campbell deck, which was really fun, and I tried to make it as like taxi and not staxy as I could. But as I kept tuning it and making it better and better, it was just too hard for me to not put cards in it that just became like really staxy. And it was like one of those where I like started, I was play testing it. It was fine. It was cool. Then I started playing it a few games and I was like, what have I done? Like this is horrible. Just being so mean to people. So I like took it apart, and just our table itself doesn't really have that much like stacks, but it's definitely a thing that can make people salty.
Yeah, and it all depends, right, on the play group. It's like, of course, these things exist in the game of Magic, and no one is stopping you from playing them, as long as they're legal, right? Nothing's like banned or anything.
Yeah,
but you might want to reconsider playing it if your play group kind of gives you that like really begruntled look, disgruntled look when you put it down on the table.
Yeah, but you have to remember too, with being salty about them, is they are part of the game. Like we do all play this game, and they do exist there.
They exist in the game.
Yeah, so there's different solutions for them, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So let's move on to like defending a little bit of the salty player side. So we're gonna do a little bit of arguments of how you can defend like salty behavior, and also arguments against salty behavior, just to kind of get a little bit of the pros and cons of being salty. I think the first and foremost thing, obviously, is that salty behavior just happens because, like, we're human. It's the human side of the game, right? We losing just kind of sucks sometimes, and especially if you have a deck that you really care about and that you put a lot of time into, and it depending on how you lose can also, like, obviously very much affect how it is, like bad luck, or maybe just somebody really screws you over for the sake of screwing you over. It might not even help them. Some people are just trolls and they like to see people suffer sometimes. And so they're just gonna bully you essentially on the table.
So like we're talking about reasons for people to play the game, like why people come to play the game. There are some people that just want to see other people get mad at them. That is 100%. Those people exist. They're there.
Yes. And like I think you also mentioned that you have like been a target of that. Like there's like a slogan in your play group saying "Bully Ben." Essentially, it's kind of a meme in your play group. So
there's a story of this from like my play group that I used to play with regularly was which I just don't play with them because I moved now, but I still go up there and visit and play. But there's a thing with Bully Ben, and it all started from this one night where I was playing, and it was with the play group. We had some new people there and everything, so it was my one friend that was coming in had more of a meaner deck that was just it was very much like gonna shut people down. It's gonna target one person. It's gonna make that person just not be able to do things, or it could target multiple people or whatever, and just go through and just. But it's a very aggressive deck that was just meant there to be on the aggressive the entire time.
Yeah.
With that deck, when he was playing that, he came there, and the only person he knew from that play group was me. And this guy's a very nice guy, so he was trying to be nice to everybody at the table that he didn't know, which unfortunately meant that he was using every single like aggressive card on me. And this was over multiple games. It was just constant. Like there was like I remember him being there and like looking at the card and being like, all right, I'm going to use this. And it's just, I forgot what the card was, but it was just something that targeted someone. And it was the start of a brand new game. And like, I had already been losing like every game, and I was just getting knocked out first. It was just like not feeling well in the first place for it. And then he plays it and he's just like, I'm going to pick Ben. And it was like, all right. I was like, at that point, I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I was just so frustrated with just being like, it was over and over again. It was just like, no, pick Ben, pick Ben, pick Ben. And it was one of those things where like, I understand why he was doing it. It was more of a like, we're just going to the table. There's new players.
No. He was trying to set a precedent to the new players to say like, Ben is always a threat. Always target him. He's always a threat.
Yeah.
He's trying to instill in their mind.
But yeah, there's definitely moments like that can happen, and that's part
Yeah.
of it. Is like I was so mad at that point too, right? Like that was one of those instant scoops. Like that was just I
Yeah.
just couldn't deal with that anymore. Which
Oh, dude,
I
reasonably so though. Like I would,
yeah
yeah. I've done my fair share of that as well. It's like, oh god, I'm getting targeted. I just don't even want to play this anymore.
yeah yeah. And I mean that's part of the game. It's like and part of what you do with that, like how for me, right? Like I was mad at it at the time, scooped up, whatever. Now it's a hilarious moment that it's turned into a meme of Bully Ben, right? Where it's just like has
Yeah.
become a thing at that playgroup where whenever somebody targets me for like anything, it's kind of like it's brought up. But
Hmm.
no, it's just
Yeah,
a that's
I think a part of it is like making sure not to take it too personal, right? It is just part of the game, and like at the end of the
yeah
day, you're still going to be friends with those people as long as they didn't like actually personally attack you or anything. Like it was really just funny in the game. So
yeah. And I mean a lot of that take from it is like the learning from that too, right? Like when you're at the time very frustrated from it, now kind of learning from it and seeing what was going on there. So I haven't actually talked with him too much about it like in the future. Maybe he learned a little bit about like trying to like even in that group maybe you shouldn't focus somebody like so hard or whatever, or if you're going to talk about it at least and go
talk,
through
yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me know
But
beforehand if you're
yeah
if you're planning on being very nice to the new players.
yeah, if you want to bully someone, that's fine. You could bully me. Just let me know you're bullying me before you do
Right.
it, so I can mentally prepare. Yeah, but I mean that's like all these salty moments and everything. It's like the taking good things out of them is to learn from them and like understanding why you were salty and trying to come up with a good solution on how to avoid being salty in the future from it, whether
Hmm.
it's your fault or not. In this scenario, 100% not my fault. 100%. No, hold on. I
Worries.
forgot to turn that thing off. Sorry. Yeah, the important thing is learning from these situations and
Hmm.
just like why. Because in this scenario, 100% not my fault. This is just Jesse was being a bully, clearly.
Right.
Or no names, but
Clearly.
yeah. No, Jesse was being a bully. And but it's fine, like learning from it. I understood why later, right? Like I understood what was happening at the situation and why this was happening. And it wasn't, he wasn't doing it because he was being mean. He was literally doing it because he was being nice. It was just to people
He's
other
trying to
than
be
me.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's
Yeah.
all those moments have something going on to them normally, so that it's not just a random act. There's like something to learn from it. That's the good part about saltiness, is actually when you can take that and turn it into a learning experience, which
Right.
you can also
Or it's
do.
just like it's like a
Yeah,
bonding experience as well. Like now you have
yeah,
that meme, with your play group, and it's kind of
oh, yeah,
funny. It's like it gives a little bit of history, a little context in your play group, which is nice.
yeah,
Being able to like actually bond over these kind of moments, and also just like you can share like frustrations among like the play group. Sometimes maybe something like just like Jesse's deck might just be something that none of the players in that play group want to ever deal with again because they saw what it can do.
yeah.
So
And thing is too, like that's fine, and that's something to be talked about because playgroups are
right.
social. Like this Commander's social format.
Mhm.
Casual EDH is played for fun, right? So
Yeah.
being able to have those above the board discussions on like, hey, I didn't like you playing that deck. I never have fun with you playing that deck. Can you please not play that deck? That is an okay conversation to have.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best way to frame it, but
Yeah.
it is a good thing to talk about with everybody there and when you're talking to this player because it is a social format, right?
Especially when you're talking about casual and like just when it's a play group that you're playing kitchen table, everybody's there just to have fun at the end of the day, right? I would hope so. And I mean, some tables maybe not. Maybe you do play CEDH casually, as in like you're with four
Always
people
trying to
who,
win.
yeah, maybe you're with four people who actually do enjoy the growth aspect of like growing in the game as a player. Um, and that's okay too, as long as you guys communicate it right. You just have to.
Mhm.
I think these salty moments are very strongly uh, can be strong like learning points and growth points for people and play groups.
Yeah, it turns out Magic the Gathering is actually a very complex game, and the
Oh
average
yeah.
player, I don't know the numbers on this exactly, but I mean, the average player that's putting time into this and that's playing this like regularly is putting a good amount of man hours into just their building their deck, playing the game, learning the game, all this. You put a lot of time into it. So being passionate about it is just going to come naturally. Like that's, I mean, anything you put that much time into, you're normally going to be very passionate about. So being
Right.
emotional about it too is very understandable.
Okay, I think that's all I had for like the defense of a salty player. So I don't know if we want to get into now more arguments against salty behavior, unless you
Now
have
it's
anything else.
no, I don't think so. Now it's time to attack salty players for how dare they?
Like, how dare you
How
get
dare
rude
they be
and
mad?
negative? Oh my goodness. We're all here to
No,
have fun, and you're being unfun.
yeah.
You're ruining my vibes, bro.
But yeah, I mean, all seriousness, I mean, it does ruin vibes. It can
It
be
does,
very,
yeah.
it can create negative energy, negative environment. Like it's just one of those where it's just, I mean, we've been there at a salty table that like we can go back to the night with the Zer thing. Like I'm pretty sure like everybody there either left unhappy or uncomfortable. It was one of the two.
Yeah.
And that's normally what happens when somebody gets salty about stuff is you're either mad about it against the person, you're mad at the person for being salty, or you're just, there with multiple people being salty and you're kind of just, ooh, this is awkward.
Yeah, it can create very unhealthy environments for like the play group, and it's just like it makes people not really want to play with you if you're just gonna like always be salty. Like being salty once or twice in like a month or two span is like whatever, but like if you're gonna be salty like every week that you sit down at the table with your friends or something, it's like yeah, maybe it isn't your play group, maybe it is you.
Yeah.
So you gotta think about it as like the overall just health of your relationship with your friends too can be affected by that.
Yeah.
You end up like getting a reputation for being that like salty player, and like you know people are gonna probably want to target you more because they want you out of the game.
Yeah. And another thing with that, with being, being salty consistently and all that, right? When you're not talking about it, you're just being salty. Like people are just going to eventually be like, all right, yeah, this guy's just salty. Like there's no reason for it. Eventually you just label them as the salty player and you move on because that's all that they're really doing if you're not communicating anything. So,
So like another reason why players can get salty is because like some commander is like a format that wasn't designed by the main company. The Magic the Gathering was developed to be a 1v1 game. And so when you have 4 players in a game in a like 100 cards in your deck, the game tends to be a bit convoluted sometimes. Like you get a lot of triggers that happen. Like there will be like 2 players have Rhystic Study, one of them might have a Smothering Tithe and Cathar's Crusade, so all these triggers you have to deal with. There's a Ghostly Prison on board. There's another person who has a group slug deck. They're playing Lord of Pain, Orcish Bowmasters, Gleeful Larcenist, and then there's like some Miriam Dragon player that's like duplicating all their dragons, so they're getting a bunch of ETB triggers on the stack. It's like the board
playing
states
solitaire.
the board states get ridiculous sometimes, and like the games can just be really just tiring, exhausting. Yep. And you just don't really want to deal with all of that stuff. There's also games where like you play for like an hour and a half and the game's about to be over, and then somebody pulls a board wipe, like they play Farewell or something, and you're just like, somebody please counter that. Like please somebody counter that, because I don't want to sit here for another hour and a half.
I actually have a story about this from this is back in high school, from like the beginnings of me playing Commander. It was just it's back in my toxic days. I had
Ben had toxic days. This is spicy.
Well, so one card, my first Planeswalker that I ever pulled, and probably one of the best cards at the start that I ever pulled, was playing Magic. So I didn't, I was a poor high schooler. I didn't have money. So whenever I got packs or like whatever, I was like so happy when I got like pulled like anything. And I pulled Karn, and it was the Planeswalker. Let me look up the name real quick because it's going to kill me. Karn Liberated, I believe it was. Yeah, Karn Liberated, the Planeswalker, which has a nifty ultimate. Where it resets the game. So you exile things with Karn, and then you ultimate with Karn, and the game gets reset. So, speaking of long drawn out games, we were over my friend's place, and we were playing, one like the last.
I feel a bit fortunate not having to ever see this card.
It's normally
fortunate.
It's so slow, it doesn't happen anymore. But like when it does, it's just we were playing the game super late at night, and I think in the game I used Karn's ultimate probably like 3 different times in one game because we were actually just kind of pranking my one friend because it was like 2 to 3 a.m. or something like this at that point. I've already restarted the game like twice, and my
Oh no.
one friend was
Oh
like
no.
literally got knocked out of the game and was just sleeping on the couch. And he was like out for the night. He's like, whatever, I'm done. And he just goes and sleeps. So it's like, all right, cool. He's out of the game, like whatever. Well, then I like negotiate with the other players. I'm like, you guys should let me restart the game one more time. It's like, why is that? And it's like, you'll see. Like, so we get there, I restart the game one more time. I go over there, we wake him up, and we're like, you got to get back. We're in the game. You got to get back in here because it's restarted again. You gotta come back, join. He joins it. He sits down. He's like so tired. He's like can't even like really pay too much attention. I'm just like, and with the things I've exiled with Karn, I'm gonna kill you on turn 2. So all right, bye. Just immediately
just woke him up to do that.
Just woke him up to do that. It was so mean. I feel so bad.
God. That's just like the biggest middle finger.
Really funny at the
somebody.
time.
Oh
really
my God.
Funny. But yeah, no, it was definitely mean. It was toxic behavior, and it was like he was salty about that. And he was mad about that, and rightfully so. Absolutely,
so.
You should
that is in defense of a salty player right there.
Yeah, I feel like peak long drawn out games. That's it. That's how you do it.
Right.
Play more Karn.
Oh, play more Karn, yes. Or even like Toxrill in the command zone. That is a very salt-inducing card.
Toxrill, yeah, it could be bad. A lot of those games. That's why
very same vibes where you're just resetting the game kind of in a way.
Well, it just like holds the game back, like especially with like a lot of those strategies that like just slow down the game are normally like sometimes they're meant to like slow down the game because they're going to get to an infinite combo or something like that and win or whatever. But then there's those times where they're playing a deck that just slows down the game. Like this is the weird one that happens at like high power and low power, and I almost more prominently at low power tables where you have a deck that's built to slow down the game, but they don't have the high powered cards to end the game, so they just slow it down. And nothing's more frustrating than a winning deck that can't win, actually. So they're just keeping everybody else down, but they themselves can't win the game. And then your game just lasts for like 3 hours while nobody else is allowed to play except for this person who's just not winning.
Sounds like even like Child of Alara, which I've heard as well. Child of Alara is like one of those as well. It's just a board wipe on a commander. Well, so
that is one that I think still to this day I probably could play against it and it'd be fine, but I haven't played against a Child of Alara deck in years, and I don't think I'd sit at the table with a Child of Alara deck.
Yeah, I don't think I want to ever see that.
Yeah. Another thing with like saltiness is the like sportsmanship and mutual respect in games. So Magic is like, it is a game. We are playing it for fun. So when people get salty in this game, like it's about having fun. When you're salty, you're not having fun. The other people at the table aren't having fun. It's not great. And then another thing that happens is when people get salty, a lot of times there's many things that can happen after a person gets salty. One of the most common is they get saltier. Like it is very easy to escalate the like saltiness immediately. Because if you get frustrated about something, sometimes sometimes you can just talk about something and get frustrated with it, and then talking about it anymore, even if there's like good arguments or if there's anything happening there, just talking about that subject more can make you more frustrated. And that's not
and
good.
It could also make other people in the game salty as well, because if you keep talking about it, people might just get annoyed by it. They're just like, oh come on, that was like 3 turns ago, can we get over it?
Yep. That's turning it's escalating it from one person to multiple people. Just now everybody's just having a bad time.
Right, and everyone's just having a bad time. And like just what we were saying too, it's like if you're getting salty every week that you sit down with them, it's just like kind of compiles, right? It's this like escalating thing of just like everybody's just feeling bad, and like it could end up turning into worse things, like maybe personal attacks or insults, and like you just end up hurting people's feelings, which is like no one wants that, and especially if you're sitting down to play with friends, or even random people. If you go to a casual commander night at a local game store, like you don't know this person, you don't know what they've done today or what they're going through. They're just here to have a good time. They came to sit down and casual commander night and have fun with their commander deck. So there's it's not fair to them if you sit down and get salty at them.
Yeah. I think that brings part the like people making decisions, right? You can be mad at somebody for making a decision, but if you don't fully understand the decision, it's just being mad for no
Right.
reason. It's just bad saltiness, right? You're just getting
Yeah,
mad
it's like
for something you don't understand.
emotions are fine. Being mad is fine, but like being like how you act on it matters a lot.
I know another thing that makes people salty,
Oh, like the game design of the actual
like the
game,
game itself. Yeah,
like the game itself.
the game
Yeah,
itself.
the
Magic
game
the
itself can
Gathering.
be very very salt inducing. Yes, and there's many ways to break this game, right? Like this game is pretty crazy. It's very difficult. It has a lot going on, but part of it is it's a card game, so there's luck involved. There's a luck aspect to the game. You can get bad draws, you can get mana screwed, but this thing happens to everybody. Like it's not exclusively you or I, it's everybody experiences it. So this is part of like you can't really use it as a validating reason to say it to be salty to
Yeah.
people. Because everybody has an equal chance of getting mana screwed. Everybody has an equal chance of just not drawing the cards they need at a certain time. So it's just a bit unjustified.
Yeah, just being mad about it is not the right solution.
And there's also only in Commander, like, so like this is another compare and contrast to like 1v1 versus Commander. 1v1 format, it's only 2 players and there's 1 winner. So it's like, if you want to argue that both players are of equal skill and they have equal skill decks, it's a coin flip who wins. In Commander, there's only 1 winner out of 4 players. And so if we consider the factor that everybody has an equal chance of winning, then you should be only winning about 25% of the time, which is kind of low, right? Like you're only winning 1 out of every 4 games. So you might want to check your expectations too if you're getting salty because you're not winning enough Commander games. If you're having above 25% win rate in your Commander games, then you should be pretty happy with how your deck's performing. You shouldn't have a high expectation to always win, but even if we are always trying to win, you should be playing to win probably, just because it's like we were talking about earlier, how decks that don't try to end the game can kind of make a miserable experience. But yeah, the expectation to win sometimes is a bit, you shouldn't have it too high.
Yeah, like losing isn't really that valid of a reason to get mad, right? Because there's, like you were saying, only one person's going to win. There's going to be 3 people losing every single game if you're playing with 4
that's
pawns.
a lot.
Like that's a lot.
People losing.
Yeah, it's a lot of people losing, and there's no reason for you to get mad. Everybody's also trying to win, right? Like that's even if you're not like playing competitively, you're like specifically doing that. You just still want to win. That is the reason you build your decks. This is the reason you do everything, is to like win the game. It doesn't matter how you go about that, but you're trying to win. So losing is just, it's part of the game. It's not a reason to get mad.
Right. And just self-regulations is always really important. It's always important to take a step back, realize and accept that like not every game's going to go your way. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow, and you get bad draws. It just is what it is. You go next.
Yep.
So how can you potentially handle these salty situations? So as like a person, as a player, as an individual, Magic the Gathering player, if you're prone to saltiness, how do you think you should be managing yourself to maybe reduce the amount of salt you are inducing?
Well, we've talked about this a little bit too in the past, and just general group discussions and everything. And my number one thing that I'm going to is just always recognizing the saltiness. Like it's understanding what's happening and understanding why you're mad is the easiest thing to actually start resolving it quicker. There's been some times where you get mad at a situation that's happening, and your immediate reaction is just you're mad about it. This is dumb because you think it should be this way. You're like, it should be this. This is not the way it's going. This is dumb. Like
right.
A good example is like somebody making a decision that you don't like, right? You think clearly they should make this decision. They make a different one instead, and it causes you to lose the game or something like that. You're mad, but why are you mad? You're mad because they made that decision. And then thinking about it more, you have to understand the source. Why are you mad about it? You're mad at this decision. Okay, why did they make this decision? And then you have to go into a whole string from there. And being able to recognize that really allows you to control it and understand what's going on. It really tunes down the saltiness a lot, because it's that person that made that decision. First of all, you don't have all the information. It's very possible that they actually have something that is going to play off that decision that they made, that is going to be better for them to win the game, which is, again, what we're here to do. Another thing with
it's a
it is that
1v1v1v1, right? Nobody's playing teams in this game. Like, you can make like little deals here and there, but at the end of the day, like, they're also trying to win, so they don't care if they take you out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a thing. And then the other part about it too is like, you don't know why they're playing what they're playing, right? If you're at a casual EDH table, somebody makes a decision that is just a straight up wrong decision, you know it's wrong. You know what they have in their hand. You know it's there. They made the wrong decision. They could be there just to have fun, and they thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
In a casual game of EDH, that's okay. That's fine.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, taking a step back to reflect on like why you're feeling the way you're feeling always helps, because if you react immediately on it, sometimes these are irrational thoughts, right? We're human, so we feel emotions sometimes, and so it's always good to try to understand the source of why this is happening. You could also just be salty because it's a mistake you made or something you didn't consider, and there's things you can do about that. Like, maybe just you can learn from that mistake. Like, maybe I should have played this a little later, or maybe I should have waited to see what other people had before I dropped my big bomb spell. Or maybe you just need to go back to the drawing board, go set your deck over in Moxfield or Architect or whatever, and you need to retune your deck. You didn't think about, like, oh, I have a friend who plays a lot of graveyard stuff. Maybe I should play some graveyard hate. Oh, I have a player someone who plays a lot of lands, and I need to maybe actually start playing land destruction. Oh God.
Yeah. That's
How
actually,
dare you? But
yeah, it's actually something I want to bring up with our play group, and kind of how we've tuned that a bit. Is like, I feel like a while ago we were kind of we jumped to always, like, because we understand it's a social game, we jump to like the politics of the group pretty quickly. So if we don't like something, the way something was being played, we would immediately be just like start to discuss it as a group and be like, maybe we should do less of this, maybe we should do less of this. And so with that, we all just as a group decided to do something. But that's one way to deal with stuff, is to go through that. Another way is like what Nick was talking about just a second ago, which is actually tuning your deck. Like, you have the tools and capabilities. There's cards in the game to deal with other cards in the game. So if you're unhappy how your deck is reacting with something, like say board wipes, if you're unhappy that your deck is getting beat by board wipes all the time, make your deck better against board wipes. Whether that's playing a different deck that you can play when there's a lot of board wipes that is going to just be better in that matchup, that's fine. Or just adding things in your deck to help it stop being affected by them as much, whether it's protection spells, counter spells, anything like that. There's ways to deal with them. It's just, you can just tune your deck to that, which in the long run will actually probably make you a better deck brewer as well. Like, you never want to change it too much with that, but it helps.
This was I had a perfect example of this with my Miriam deck. I absolutely love playing Dragon Tribal. They're just like so explosive, and it's so fun, playing a big dragon, and it's just like they do, you're not doing anything. You're not a problem. Then tap 6 mana, play a big dragon. Now I'm a problem.
You're the problem.
It's so much fun. But, however, I had an Dragon deck prior, Dragon Tribal. And it was fine, honestly. It kind of won here and there. It lost here and there. But then I discovered Miriam, and I love this card. I love the concept of being able to double my dragons. Even just cloning Miriam also sounded really exciting. So I kind of went the cloning route. However, this deck was it was kind of fragile in a way, in a weird way. It was a glass cannon, kind of, I would say, is a good way to describe it, because it's very much a kill on sight commander. If any of you have played against Miriam, you know that this commander, if it comes out on the board and makes it around a turn cycle, that Miriam player is going to do some nasty shit.
Yeah, especially with that copy style like you were doing, because you get one Miriam out and then it just storms off into like, oh, I have 5, and now I play one dragon. And I get 6 copies of it or whatever.
Right, and especially with a Scourge of Valkis or a Terror of the Peaks out or a Dragon Tempest, then you're just blowing up everybody's board, or even just taking, doing 700 damage to everybody's face. So it was very much a very fragile playstyle in that sense, though, because it would be, everybody knew after seeing it 1 or 2 times that if Miriam gets around the board, I'm probably going to win. And so it became this style of like, okay, I'm casting Miriam. Any responses? No. I guess I win. Or any responses? Yeah. pass turn. I guess we'll try again next turn.
Yeah.
And that just was really unfun for me, right? This
Yep.
became kind of a salt-inducing thing for me. Like I was getting frustrated that the deck wasn't winning anymore after a while, because it was like, oh, everybody just keeps countering my creature. Why is that? And I felt bullied. I felt victimized a little bit. And then I took a step back. Our play group also helped me like come to this conclusion of just like, bro, the commander is just toxic. Like it's a kill on site commander, and if you get it around, a lot of times you win if it goes around the table. So my solution was like, okay, what can I do that's in my control? I'm just gonna scrap the Miriam thing, because I couldn't figure. I tried so many ways to make it like, okay, I'll just put in like 15 protection spells and just not let it get killed. But then it just became a really linear deck, and it just wasn't fun for me to even pilot anymore. So I scrapped it. I went back to the Ur Dragon as my commander, and it feels way better. I still have Miriam in the 99, but the deck is just a lot more fun to play.
Yeah, there's a lot of decks like that in Commander too that are like Commander centric. I had a Tiamat deck for a while, which at first I was like kind of like a similar thing. I was kind of salty about it when it like would get counter or something like that, because it's just such a huge mana investment to get that out there. And it just took me to realize like, oh wait, this is just like, if I realized how good it was for somebody to counter the commander. I was like, oh wait, if I play Tiamat, I get to search my library for like 5 dragons, I think, or something like that was the thing, which is like huge. Fantastic. That's huge. Right. If somebody counters that, that's a ton of value they are countering. It is so worth it to counter that spell. So like I had to understand that to be like, oh yeah, why I shouldn't be mad that somebody's doing this, because it'd be stupid not to. Like it's just,
and it's your commander. It's literally sitting face up on the board. Everybody can tell that you want to play this spell, right? And it's like,
oh look, you have that much mana on board, huh? I wonder what you're gonna do next turn.
Yeah, and so you can either be salty about it, or you can be salty at first and then reflect on it and be like, okay, maybe it is the deck. Maybe it isn't my play group. Maybe it isn't all this other bull crap that I'm coming up with. Maybe I should just scrap the deck, or maybe I should edit it and make it fine-tuned to fit the play style of our play group a little better.
Yeah, and to be honest, you can even, for a little while, I was piloting that deck with just a different mindset too. I was like, it was pretty much just it's actually probably more of like, if I'm just drinking and having a good time and playing this, it was a deck that I could just play and have fun with, because I didn't need to think about it that much. The deck game plan was get enough mana to cast Tiamat, get dragons, play dragons. Like that was it. So very easy to pilot, and I was just like, it was a great deck to have, where I just had that mindset of like, all right, I'm casting Tiamat. Does it go off? Oh, it did? Great. Oh, it didn't?
Great.
All right, cool. Whatever. Next turn. Yeah. Like if you go into it with that mindset, it's very different. Very easy to play.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, just have a different mindset about it as well.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the final thing is like, we should, when you're dealing with salty players at the table too, if you're not the salty one and you just know somebody who gets salty a lot, you ask them why. Ask them why they're getting salty. Try to be calm and empathetic with them. Maybe you don't want to ask them right away as the salt's happening, because that could maybe just make things worse. But maybe after the game's over, or they got the chance to take a step back and calm down a bit, you can ask them like, what's going on, and also just like communicating with your play group, like we've discussed. Like if something is very salt inducing, or it happens frequently too, the play group should have a rule 0 conversation about that. Like if we talk about, like everybody talks about this rule 0 thing, this is really important in casual Commander, because if everyone's there to just have fun, no one's playing for money or anything like that, and it's not high stakes, like the play group should talk about what they are okay with playing against and what they're not okay with playing against. So you should have fun and respect with other players, in your play group. So
yeah, communication is such a big thing with this. I mean, like we've said it a few times in this one, it's a social format. Like everything, you're playing to have fun, and you're all there just to have a good time. So when you're playing these games, the most important thing is that you're communicating and having fun. So when people are, when somebody gets mad at something, it's not good to just ignore it. You want to talk about it and see what's going on. And sometimes, it's not best to talk about it right away, because people are emotional right then, but then it doesn't mean you just ignore it. You do want to talk about it at some point in time and bring it up, because that's the only way you can move forward and also get a better experience the more you play too.
Right. I love talking about stuff that is okay in our play group. Because I mean, I want to make our play group better too. I'm kind of like a person who likes to get better at the games I play. So um, I do the best I can to try to discuss and communicate things that I do like and things I don't like. And, we've talked about a lot of things too, where like the thing earlier we were talking about with the board wipes. I hated board wipes for a very long time because I'm the aggro player. I always play all my stuff as fast as I possibly can. And then people would board wipe and I'd be like losing the game and I'd be like, what the heck's happening? Why are people playing so many board wipes? And we've talked about it before, Ben, like, maybe I should try to slow down on the way I play the game, or maybe I should play more protection, and there's definitely ways around that stuff. It's just the way I pilot, maybe the way I'm bringing decks to the table that don't really fit what other people are playing, and so I get targeted a lot. That happened a lot, and I learned from these situations. And we were able to talk a lot too about like people playing less board wipes, just because we didn't want to have all these like 2-3 hour long games, because at the start of our play group we played very long games. And that's come down actually since we've talked about it. And
Yeah. Yep, and I think we had a thing too a while ago about we didn't like to have. It's actually funny just how you could see a play group change. We had a thing a long time ago where we just didn't want to play infinite combos because we were just unhappy at how infinite combos won the game, because it was just like it felt cheap. I had like my first deck that I tried to make, like I made a somewhat close to, it was like a high powered deck version of Yuriko, and Yuriko had the Thassa Oracle combo in there, and that's just it's just a really easy combo. So all the game would be just really playing like normal, combo. And then all of a sudden, especially because the deck wasn't good, so the deck would be like, we're playing like normal, everything would be happening, and then all of a sudden just, oh yeah, Thassa Oracle, I win. Oracle. Yeah, it's like, all right, cool. There we go, done. Game's over. And nobody had fun with that, especially because like I was one of the only people running running combos like that. So it was just not a great interaction. So we just stopped that. Then our games took forever. And then we realized why infinite combos are necessary in multiplayer games of Commander.
Like, wait a minute. What's easier than doing 120 damage to people's life totals?
Just winning the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, so those shift, like the talks with your playgroup can shift over time, and it's just as long as you're communicating about it, that's what allows everything to go through. Because like, we were talking about it at the time as a group, and we were like, oh, this is all bad. Or like maybe even one person in the group thinks, oh, this is so bad. So like we're like, as a group, you can be like, all right, cool, you do that. And then now you talk about it like a year later or like 6 months later, and you're like, actually, I don't know if that was the right thing. Maybe we should do more like this or whatever. And you can talk it through and get to the answer eventually as well. But all of that happens only with communication. Without that communication, somebody's just going to keep being salty about the same thing most of the time.
Yep. And I love that. I love seeing the play group evolve. I love seeing like our metas shifting, and like as people build new decks, it's just exciting. It's cool to see people grow as players too in the game. And also like my fiance, she has gotten a lot better at the game. Like as we played, I remember when we first started playing, like, a lot of times she didn't have a lot of impact in the games at first, but that happens when you're new to the game. But like as we've evolved and we've all played together, we all seem to have a very fair chance of winning the game these days. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's it's fun. There's nothing more I love in Commander, which is I feel like it's a weird thing, but there's nothing more I love in Commander than a balanced play group. It is. Yes. There's one night
it didn't help. Like at first I was playing like really higher powered decks, and it just was like, and that's part of the reason why I got bullied, and it's like I had to reflect and be like, it makes sense why I'm getting targeted all these times. Maybe I should power my decks down a little bit, and here we are.
Yeah, and there's there's one story I have from just the quick one with a friend. My play group up in Cleveland. We played one game of or one time we played one session of Magic. I think it was like 8 hours, so it was 8 hours total of Magic. They're four person games, and we played 4 games. Each person won 1 game, and each game, everybody had chances of winning. Like it wasn't like everyone stormed off or did whatever. It was just like the most balanced night of Commander I've ever had in my life, and it was just crazy. Like that stuff's way too fun. Like? I don't know why it's fun. Yeah, but it just feels so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Maybe one day our playgroup will get there.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, in conclusion, I guess we should wrap this thing up a little bit.
Yeah.
we've argued over the two sides of it. We've discussed what saltiness is and why it happens. But I think there is benefit, like there's pros and cons to it, and I think there's
Yeah.
times where it's right to be salty, and there are times when it's not. So being salty is like kind of natural. It's human to feel emotions and feel upset, especially when you're invested in this game. This game can be very expensive too, especially if you're not playing with proxies. So I get it. I get when people get salty over things. There's certain things in Magic that also are very, very salt inducing, like stacks and board wipes, land destruction. People hate that. So it's important to make sure to balance your emotional expressions with like good sportsmanship. Just remember that you're playing to have fun most of the time. I hope so as well in competitive. Even if you are playing for high stakes, usually you're playing Magic because you find it fun. So saltiness can be a sign that you need to possibly have more conversations, maybe more open communication with your play group.
Yeah. And a really important side is like there is the two sides to it. Like you have understanding it from both ends is how you like deal with it, because it's okay for somebody to be salty. What's not okay is for them to not like, for you not to understand it and for them not to understand it. If you both don't understand something and you don't talk about it or do anything, then it's just going to keep festering and get worse.
Yeah,
But
that's horrible.
yeah, going through it and actually understanding it, talking it through, thinking it through, just spending more time on dealing with saltiness is the best way to handle it. Remember, it's okay to be salty. You just got to learn from the saltiness
And know how to act. How to act.
True.
Don't just act upon the saltiness right away. Make sure you're not hurting anybody's feelings, not attacking anybody.
Yep.
So, if you enjoyed this conversation, we'd like to hear your stories of your most salty moments, possibly down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And also just reflect on your own behavior and behavior in your play groups. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this.
Yeah, give us some good growth stories too. Things that have changed
True.
or whatever, gotten better.
True.
Thanks, guys.
The Etched Companion signing off.